Good evening, everyone. Better late than never. Hopefully you can see me. I have been trying for the last 10 minutes to get onto here. So if you can see me, do say hello. I'm just going to double check that I am in fact live, just to make sure, because I would hate to be talking to myself again. Yes, I'm live. Fantastic. I will keep an eye on your comments as well now. So if you're watching, please do say hello. If you know someone who is going to have difficulties or is really stressed about the return to school and they need a little bit of help and reassurance, tag them now so that we can have a good discussion this evening. Oh, good. I have some people watching me. Good. Thank you, Jodie. Thank you, Charlotte. Charlotte, thank you for keeping me sane. Good old ADHD in a crisis, though. So I have been trying to get on here since about 2 minutes to 8. Facebook was having none of it. So we've had to set up a new event. So hopefully everybody who was hoping, I'll notice lots of emails coming in now saying, Chris is not there. I'm really sorry. I'm here now. I'm here now. So Facebook has let me down this evening, but it wasn't going to deter me. I am here. And I'm going to be chatting to you. So do say hello if you can see me. Let me know where you're watching from. It's always nice to know. Number one, it's nice to see where the problem areas are, even though we've got a good idea. But also it's quite nice to see if people have come to watch from overseas. Quite like it when we go international. So good evening. If you don't know me, and I'm some random partially Welsh person talking to you over Facebook Live. Actually, I'm not partially Welsh. I'm very Welsh, but my accent isn't so Welsh anymore. I'm Chrissa. I'm the founder of Sunshine Support. For those who don't know who Sunshine is, we are a beautiful, gorgeous, lovely team of lovely, friendly people spread across the country and the UK. And we support parents, carers, teachers and professionals who support children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities. We've got a lovely team at Sunshine, mixed with sort of specialist educators and legal advisors, you name it, we've got it. And we like to pop on, or I like to pop on because I'm the mouthpiece, to come and chat to you to see what the problems are, and also to see if we can offer some advice and support, because I know coming to the end of the holidays is really tricky for so many of us. We're exhausted. I'm there. And so I'm here to offer a bit of validation. So I'm just going to have a look to see if people can see. Yes, I'm still live. This is all good. Ah, okay. We've got you from all over the country so far. We've got Kira from Oxford, Sam from Warwick, Holly from Worthing, Lindsay from Shropshire, Louise from Lancashire, Tammy from Hull. Hello from the lady whose chickens were trying to get in the car when we spoke. Sharon, that is ingrained in my brain as my most favourite call. Love it when I meet a neurospicy and we get to have a detailed conversation about chickens. Hi, Jodie from Swansea. Alison from Northern Ireland, so furthest so far. Sharon says, my son's anxiety is triggering my ADHD. Totally get that. Mine's up here at the moment. Love your hair. Thanks, Rebecca. I am sporting the I didn't wash it this morning look, if you quite like that. Hi, Sophie from Farnborough in Hampshire. Hi, Diane from Colchester. Hi, Ali from Farnham. So everybody's going to start asking me questions. So I'm just going to get on to things because I've got quite a bit to talk about, and then we'll come back to the questions. So if you know anyone who is worried about the return to school, do tag them now, and we will try our best as a community to support one another. Now, if you're just joining us, I'm Chrissa. I'm the founder of Sunshine Support. And tonight we're going to be talking about the return to school. So there's a lot of anxiety this time of year, isn't there? And it's not just the kids, is it? It's us as well. And some will go back to school and they'll absolutely thrive. And hooray for them. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. One of my kids cannot wait to get back. She is so absolutely ready. Every August is like this. She cannot wait to get back. She thrives in that busy environment. She just loves learning. It's totally her. It's totally her. And we know that education works for the majority. But then some of my kids are very apprehensive. One cannot cope with the thought of going back. And so this tonight I'm going to try and be as wide reaching as possible, because I know that there are some specific problems that come through, but there are also children like one of mine who is really excited that everything kind of falls on them, then the pressure falls on them to pick up things for the other kids. So I'm going to try and cover as much as I possibly can. Some kids didn't finish school last year. Some of them didn't attend at all last year. And so this time of year is quite triggering for them. It's triggering for the parents, triggering for the teachers. School anxiety is setting in more and more as we get closer and closer to the return. And I appreciate that some local authorities have already gone back. It always baffles me a little bit going back in August, when the cutoff point is the end of August. It's like today, isn't it, for the next year group? But I know Leicestershire and somewhere up north as well, I can't think where, off the top of my head, they've already gone back. So forgive me for talking as if nobody's gone back. But yeah, the anxiety creeps in, parental anxiety, children anxiety. It is a bit contagious, isn't it, anxiety? So your children and then you have a bit, and then you give a bit to them, and then they give a bit to you, and all of a sudden you're going, and out of control. And so I get it. I've been there. I have worn that t-shirt and ripped it up. And anxiety, as we know, can lead to more difficult things happening. You know, things like school trauma, school avoidance. Some children haven't even been allocated a new school for the school year yet, and it's starting soon. I mean, can you imagine their anxiety? We know we're supporting with so many EHCPs where local authorities have really messed up. I nearly swore that. They've really messed up. And it breaks my heart. Honestly, it's getting me now to know those children who should be starting they should have a new start in September. And for them, there's nothing there. Local authorities have really failed these kids, and I don't know how they sleep at night. Honestly, I don't. So throughout my video tonight, I want you to share your ideas as well, because one of the things we pride ourselves on at Sunshine is creating this lovely community. So do share your ideas. If there's anything that you think, oh, this really works for my child, or I've tried this and it didn't work for my child and it went really wrong, by all means share them, because you will help someone, at least one person on this feed tonight. Now, I'm recording this live, so and we are Thursday evening at 8:20. If you see this after the fact, of course, do say hello if you want to, but I'm not going to be able to respond. But remember, those are commenting, that you'll be helping everybody who's watching the video later as well. So, you know, do bring that community vibe. I'll do my best to help as many people as I can. So, but do please chip in. So, as I mentioned, there's so much pressure on kids, isn't there? But not just the kids who really struggle with the anxiety, but the kids who don't struggle. And I've seen some posts that have really bothered me this week, shared on social media, about teaching your kids to look out for the lonely children on the playground, teaching kids that they have to pick up the slack, where the slack, by the way, being the teaching or the support structure in school for the children who struggle. I just want to put it out there that whilst all these memes and graphics are very well-meaning, the pressure is enormous on these kids. Just because a child is returning to school and it doesn't look like they're struggling, number one, they might be masking. But number two, if they're genuinely not struggling and they're really excited, and this is everything that, you know, it means the world to them to be back in their learning environment, don't put extra pressure on those kids to be able to help everybody else. By all means, teach them kindness, but they still need to be focusing on them. Because what we don't want is a nation of collapsed kids because they're trying to pick up the slack where the adults have let things slide. So if you have a child with lots of empathy, and we know, for instance, our ADHDers have empathy that physically hurts them. One of my kids, she only needs to see somebody get a little bit embarrassed by something and she bursts into tears because the feeling she has is so overwhelming in terms of how much empathy she's got for that person. These kids are going to see these memes and they're going to end up putting other children's needs before their own. And really, we need to for them to stay focused on them, to meet their own needs. Now, kindness, like I said, is important, but let's stop putting pressure on the kids to fix the problem. We know that there's a problem within the education system. It's not fit for purpose. It's archaic. It's setting all of our children up for failure because there's nothing out there that looks like education in the world of work, is there, other than being a teacher? But where a child is struggling, that's where the teachers and the adults are supposed to come in. So let's start switching the focus back onto them. The return to school is stressful. It's anxiety inducing for all kids, even if it looks like they're excited. So they don't need the added pressure. So number one, stop sharing those memes. But going on to something now that perhaps is a little bit more constructive. We know that teachers, so I'm not just ragging on teachers here, I'm saying that the responsibility in the school day lies with the teacher, of course. But we've got a team of specialist teachers here at Sunshine, and we've been talking about the return to school this week, and we've been talking about it as parents and as professionals. And all the teachers have said, look, it's anxiety inducing for us as well. You know, we're about to meet a class full of new children that we've got to get to know. We're going to get it wrong before we get it right as we sort of feel our way through what we're meant to be doing with new personalities and new profiles. So it can be quite anxiety inducing for teachers. But if you are a teacher, if you have time, our teachers have all said here that what they used to love doing is creating a little film that they could then put out to their new class, like a welcome back video that they share via Dojo if it's a primary school or secondary school. That, you know, there's plenty of things that you could be doing in terms of secondary school. You can really get creative. But you'll know there's children in your class that will really benefit from this. They need it more than others. However, all the children will benefit. So whilst there's some that you think, you know, or maybe I should send them a video, all the children will benefit because in some shape or form, they're all feeling a level of anxiety before they return. So back to the preparation at home then. How can we best prepare our children for school? So the return to school. Again, if you're just joining us now, do share any ideas in the chat and have a discussion whilst I'm talking. Number one, when we're looking at any kind of support for our children, whether that's understanding their behavior, supporting their anxiety, supporting sleep, supporting toileting, you name it, you name it. The one thing you have to focus on first and foremost, and I won't ever negotiate on this, is you as a caregiver, because you cannot tend to a fire if you are on fire. So you need to do a little checkup on yourself. So right now, think about it. How are you feeling? Some of you have already said you're feeling anxious. You're catching the anxiety. What are you doing to help that? What are you doing to help you? What are you doing to keep a check on your emotions, to keep all your regulation sort of where it should be? We don't want to be too calm. We need to be alert. But we don't want to be wound up. I'd love to know, by the way, do post in the comments what you do to look after yourselves and to keep yourself emotionally regulated. I'll come back to them in a sec. Now, for me, I try really hard to maintain my self-care, and it's so hard. And for my colleagues who are watching, we have a little giggle because we are trying so hard with our self-care. But as September approaches, our inquiries are getting busier, our caseloads are getting busier, everything is getting busier. And it doesn't matter how many staff we have, everybody's always seems to be full to capacity. Now, for me personally, juggling it all is really, really hard. I've got loads of kids. It feels like I've got about 500. I've got very little by way of childcare, a tiny, maybe sometimes non-existent support network as such. I work full-time. In fact, I work more than full time. I have been known to work probably more than 80 hours a week at Sunshine Support because I just absolutely love dedicating my entire life to our community. And I don't know how I fit it all in. So many people say, how do you do all of that? I don't know. I don't know. And I am exhausted. I have got ADHD. Maybe that really helps. I know that it really helps, but I still get really, really exhausted. And weekends are, I'm just burnt out all the time. But I do know that if I don't look after myself and I don't put that oxygen mask on, then I just can't function. And I certainly can't be what my kids need me to be. And so I have small things that I do each day to look after myself. They're not major. When people think of self-care, they think, oh, you've got to go and have your nails done. It is something I enjoy. Or you have to go and have your hair done, or you have to go to a spa. It doesn't have to be that elaborate. One of the things I really enjoy doing is, you know, in the morning, just cleansing my skin, putting my skincare on. It's not expensive. It's not elaborate. It's not luxurious. But those 10 minutes of just breathing, whilst I know everybody's sleeping, makes a massive difference to me. And I really make that time to do some deep breathing, actually, because you can't get a better form of self-care than breathing deeply. Google. I think my cat is in the garage at the side of me and something's just gone crash. So sorry about that. Google the benefit of deep breathing on your brain, especially your amygdala. Okay, I won't go into the science of it all now, but give it a Google. Oxygen is honestly is the best medication. So with that, I'm going to come to your comments and see what sort of things you're sharing in terms of your self-care. So Carmela says, self-care with the acceptance of the situation. It's stressful. I know it's going to be difficult and I allow myself to feel that. Carmela, absolutely. We shame ourselves so often, don't we? Because of the way that we feel, you know, oh, I'm feeling anxious. Oh God, I'm feeling stressed about the return to school. That must mean I'm a really bad mum. No, just accept that's just how it's going to be for a little while and it will pass. You know, we hear that all the time. This too shall pass. Good and bad, as Tom Hanks says. Carmela says, I do try to dedicate time to think and worry and contain that to a dedicated time rather than allow my thoughts to go there all throughout the day. It takes practice, but it helps me. Absolutely. And it works for you. And that's the most important thing. You're never going to be able to copy somebody else's self-care because we all have different core beliefs and values and desires and needs. Amanda says, I have no support from family. I'm so emotionally drained and I'm still learning the process for things. Honestly, I blag it and most days I cry it off when I'm alone. Crying is healing. I love a good cry. It's really good to release it because if you don't release it, it just stores itself up as a trauma in your body. By the way, love talking about trauma on this page. I'm trying to see. I think I might be skipping some of these comments. I'm sorry if I do miss you. Do comment, though, and talk about your self-care. It's so, so important. It could be that coffee at the beginning of the day. Something else that I absolutely love is water. So I love a bath. I have at least one bath a day. I must have, most days, have two. One to start the day, one to end the day. And I get a lot of thinking done in that time. Sometimes I do quite productive things. So I do work, which I don't know whether some people might agree that's good or bad. Other times I just read, you know, but you will all have something that helps you to regulate yourself. And it's really important you do that. It's not selfish because actually, if you, like I said, if you're tending to a fire and you're on fire, it's not going to put the fire out. You need to be able to look after yourself. Do Google the low arousal approach. Professor Andy McDonnell talks about this a lot. I mean, he's developed the methodology. Do have a look at that. Just give it a Google. His webinars are fantastic for looking at that, looking at you as a caregiver and how you can then provide care, provide what your child needs from a place of emotional regulation. Number 2, on to your children now. Listen and observe. Your child right now is communicating if they're happy to return. Like I said, mine are very verbal. It's something we've encouraged from a very young age. But maybe your child is pre-verbal. So maybe another form of communication. Sometimes that communication isn't appropriate. We know our kids, they become dysregulated, and that can turn to aggression and violence. It's really difficult to observe that whilst trying to keep everybody safe, but it is, do recognize it as a form of communication. What is this telling you? Don't ignore that. Don't ignore it. Document it. Because actually, by documenting it in some kind of text format, it will come in handy, because you are able to then share it if things become quite tricky later on. You could start to try some gentle conversations about school. Can you dig a little deeper? Explore what's causing their worry. Be really gentle, though, because if they're really struggling to even think about school, then this could be something that tips them over the edge. So you will know. You are their expert, remember, as their caregiver. So be gentle. Remember, the difficulty with attending school, or the anxiety attached to going to school. It could be something emotional, but it could also be triggered by something physical. So don't pin everything on emotionally based school avoidance. Whilst that's absolutely a thing, there are other reasons as well. So for instance, it could be your child is worried about weeing and pooing when they're at school. And this is not just little ones. This is all the way through. We know that when children have got certain presentations, or they have sensory processing difficulties, continence can be a real tricky thing for them to manage. And it becomes more and more embarrassing the older they get. And it is a really common issue. It's a really common issue. So many parents think they're alone in this problem, but we get calls every day about this. In fact, it's so common, it's just triggered a memory. On the 7th of September, we've actually organised a webinar on toileting and continence. So hopefully my colleague George will be posting a link to that in a second. If you want the link, do let us know. But we are going to be looking at toileting and continence, particularly as children do get very anxious about this in school. And of course, there's these scandals across the country, across the world, in fact, where they are closing the toilets during lesson time and things like that. It makes it really difficult for our kids. They don't want to be asking for a pass. They don't want to be monitored going to the loos. It's really, really tricky. But if you want to know more about that toileting and continence webinar, do drop us a comment, and we'll share the link with you. Now, something else that's really, really important is, whilst we need to be looking at the child and their presentation, sometimes we can't quite pick out exactly what is going on. So one of the resources we've created is the school climate. Hopefully, my colleague George will share the visual. Sorry, George, I've put you on the spot a little bit there. Understanding your school climate is absolutely vital to understanding why children might have anxiety about attending or might struggle to attend. So we've got this amazing resource. We can also, if you want the resource, comment again, say, I would like the resource for school climate, and we can share it with you. It's just a digital picture that you can just download and keep on your phone. I can guarantee you that when the school climate is a bad fit for a child, it can cause anxiety, it can cause trauma, and it can result in avoidance. And by the way, school avoidance is a trauma response. It can be a trauma response. So I'll come back to that in a bit. There are so many areas of the school climate to explore. It's really, really important that you explore it in full. And I think this particular resource, this visual that we're able to share, it's something that you can sit down with your child and go through it. Some kids will be able to nail it, hit the nail on the head straight away. Others might struggle, but it'll give them something to think about. You know, what is it in the school that isn't feeling right? And actually, I go through this in quite a lot of detail in my school avoidance webinar that's coming up at the end of September. We've also got School Avoidance Awareness Week at the end of September for those who don't know about it. And the fact that you're watching this might be something that you're really, really interested in. So we'll stick the link. The School Avoidance Awareness Week, we're going to be covering so much in that week to empower you as parents and teachers to understand why children struggle to attend school. We've also got some fantastic speakers who are going to be given revolutionary new ways of dealing with school avoidance so that things are actually targeted, not punished, not fined, not expelled, not sent to prison because you didn't take your kids to school. This is science that looks at speech, language, communication, and the functionality of the brain and how our children are perceiving the world around them and how they see it as a threat. So this is going to be a real big one for us at the end of September. So if you'd like more information on that awareness week, where we'll be sharing tons of resources as well, do comment here and we'll let you know. But school avoidance is real. It should never be ignored, ever, ever, ever. Now then, another one of our specialist educators here at Sunshine, Charlotte, has created some amazing ideas with her kids at home for all the returns to schools over the years. And surprisingly enough, for Charlotte, oh, it's unsurprising actually, it's all very visual and environmental. Now, Charlotte, everybody would want Charlotte as a teacher. She teaches me every day. It's very lovely. But Charlotte is really good at preparing children and dogs, by the way, for the next stage of their development. And she does it in a very holistic way. It's a very gentle, subtle environmental change. So some of the things that she's actually given to us, I've never even thought of, and I absolutely love, and I'm totally going to be doing over this next week or so. So for instance, Charlotte said that sort of like the week or two before school starts back, she begins closing the curtains in the living room in the house downstairs and having the little lamps on. So it sort of creates this illusion of nighttime and helps the kids to start to wind down a little bit easier, a little bit sooner, and get back into a routine. And with regards to sleep, do check out the Sleep Fixer, because Kerry at the Sleep Fixer is amazing at helping us to understand the things we need to do to encourage our children to get into a sleepy state. I try it all on my kids and they sleep really, really well. Charlotte also recommended, or this is something she does, she washes and dries new uniform so it's softer and smells like home. So of course, sensory problems, we need to be really honing in on those sensory problems and the trickiness of school uniforms. And that's a whole other Facebook Live talking about school uniforms, because I absolutely hate the controversy around school uniforms, but there we go. But what she also does, once she's washed and dried it, she leaves it hanging out in their bedrooms, in their children's bedrooms, so that they can try it on at their leisure. And so that actually then it becomes more normal to be wearing school clothes as they approach school. So it's not so alien on that first day, you know, get your uniform on, it's all stiff, it doesn't smell like home because it's fresh from the shop, and I don't wear this normally and it's scratchy and you know, I can feel it now, my old school uniform. So I think that's really, really good. Again, it's very subtle. It gives the child the autonomy. They're in control of when they put it on. They can play in it a little bit. Does it really matter if you have to give it an extra wash before they go to school? If it means that they end up wearing it with no fuss on the first day and they feel comfortable and happy. Same with school shoes, get them worn in, get them broken in. Charlotte also said that she starts preparing the children's meals at home at the same time as they would be at school. So they start getting back into that routine, because we all slip a little bit, don't we? They get up a bit late on the holidays, they have a later breakfast, and then lunch starts to edge closer to tea time then goes into bedtime. So she brings all of that back in, and these really small changes, and they're very manageable, but they make a huge impact. And our entire education team agree that the use of visuals and environmental preparation is vital. Some other visuals that you could use around the house, and I've used some visuals. I downloaded our visuals, actually, our planner for the summer off our website, and I have it up on the wall, and it's been an absolute godsend, because not once have the kids have said to me, what are we doing this week? What are we doing tomorrow? What's now? What's next? It's all there. And they helped me put those activities on there. So The team were saying that monthly countdowns are really, really good. For some kids, I appreciate, for some of our kids with demand avoidance, that's just going to be extra pressure. Don't do this if it doesn't feel right for your child. You're the expert. I'm just giving you some ideas to play with. Weekly timetables at home. Like I said, they've worked a treat for my kids this summer. Visual boards for dinners, social stories. There's also storybooks that you could use, you know, the preparing for the back to school, return to school. Get creative, get them creating their own. But again, you know, with visuals, there's so many different ways of using visual tools to help children, both not just in the preparation before school, but all the stuff in school as well. And actually, we've got a webinar coming up on that in a few weeks on using visuals. So if you'd like to learn more about using visuals to help your child so that it's not a verbal form of communication. And I find that visuals are more empowering for the child because they're not having to ask all the time. They feel like they're in control. They can actually help develop the visuals, and then they only have to keep looking at that point of information. So if you want to know more about that, just comment and we'll share the link with you. Another one of our educators, Gabby, says she loves to reflect back on good memories from last year. So we're reminding our children about the goodness, because actually sometimes, and I have a tendency of doing this, I think, I don't know whether it's a neurodivergent thing, I've got no idea, but the big memories are always the negative memories. So, you know, for instance, we have a very busy social media page, and 99% of the comments are just so lovely, uplifting, supportive of one another. And then now and again, you get some really derogatory, horrible people, or horrible comments, should I say, coming from good people, I'm sure. And they are the ones that we fixate on here at Sunshine, and we get really, really upset. We've all been there. We sort of fixate on the negative, where we really need to be looking at the positive. So let's give our kids a little helping hand by helping them to remember what happened last year that was really positive. Also looking at some positive experiences from the school holidays, and do they have anything that they can take in, that they, like a token of the fun that they've had over the summer holidays, something they want to share with others. I know one of my girls really struggled to just get over that threshold of the classroom door. Once she was in, she was genuinely okay. She does not mask. She's incredibly honest. And for those who have watched her on Facebook Lives, you know she's incredibly honest. But she just needed a little help getting over that threshold. And one of my family members is a specialist educator. We're surrounded by them. And she suggested that my daughter has something special with her every time she goes into school. So it could be like a little farmyard animal or something. It was when she was in reception. And so she would be excited to tell her teacher about this, and it would help her to overcome that threshold of getting into the classroom. It doesn't work for all kids, but it does work for a lot. One of the biggest things though, and this comes out in every webinar that we do, it's all about working together. So school working together with parents. And I know this is sometimes really tricky because we all have different targets. Schools have got very much the government targets that they have to hit. And as parents, we don't have them. We're all about nurture. And sometimes those two targets clash a little bit. So, but it is really, really important that we try our best to overcome it for the sake of the children, that clash. Because actually working together is where the magic is going to happen. And in terms of, you know, what is right for your child, I've mentioned a few things. Teachers will be armed with tools, or they should be. They should have a toolbox full of stuff that they can help you, they can provide to help your child transition back into school. So reach out to them. They should now be checking their dojos or emails or whatever. Reach out to them and say, we're having a really tricky time in the preparation for school. You hopefully have already documented all the problems, like I mentioned before. This is where it comes in really handy to share that with the professionals and say, I would love to be able to work together on this, because my aim is for my child to have an education. I want things to be straightforward. I do not want them to be traumatized by school. I don't want this to become a long-lasting problem. What can we do? and work together. It is tricky, and it's even trickier when they're older, because these cute little things that we're talking about primary age, they don't tend to work as well. And also they can vote with their feet, because there is no, if you have a teenager, there is no moving them if they don't want to do something, and go them for digging their heels in. So do share some ideas, though. I'm going to come back to the comments now, actually, and see if there are any more ideas being shared. Let's have a quick look. Sorry, my comments are a little bit slow. Louise said, I emailed my daughter's school this week, not heard back yet. They quite often don't respond. If anybody is a teacher watching, please do respond. We get this quite a lot, where parents do reach out and they really struggle with getting a response. Melissa says, going back to the self-care element, I open cold water swim as much as I can. Do you know what? I wish I could do this. So I've got so many neurodivergent friends who absolutely love doing this. Some of two friends in particular. In fact, the more I think, there's loads of them, live near the coast, and they can just jump in the sea, and they have a group of people that they go and wild swim with or cold water swim with. And it looks exhilarating. And they honestly say it's so beneficial to their health. My PT loves to have the ice baths. And that is really, really helping him. I wish I could be brave. I'll give it a go one day. I'm not sure today will be the day, but I absolutely admire the people who do that, because it just looks wonderful. Sarah says, I'm dreading next week. My son is already claiming oh, hang on a minute. The comments are jumping. My son is already claiming he isn't going to be getting up and going to school. He's becoming agitated and angry. That's anxiety. That is anxiety. Listen to him, observe him. Like I mentioned earlier, if you didn't hear that part of the talk tonight, when I finish, just go back and watch it again. But he is talking to you. He is communicating. Jodie says she's applied for EOTAS, but no place until... and then she's trying new options, trying a new school. If you want any help with EOTA, so that's education other than at school, we can absolutely help you. There's a lot of laws as well surrounding not being educated. Now, I'm not a legal person, but we have Jess, who is our legal advisor, who is incredible. I've got a feeling she's watching as well. And Jess will be able to advise you on the law when it comes to being out of school and what your rights are, because you have more rights than you think you have. Sarah says, my daughter is going back to school. I've asked for visuals, but nothing. They've said it's just for new children. Isn't that so... I've got the visual countdown to school, visual calendar. She's getting more stressed with more meltdowns. I've emailed school to ask again for visual back to school booklet and other things as well. I'm dreading next week, but it's filling up with S.E.N sessions after school to try and help. If you would like to have a chat, Sarah, ping us a message and we'll see if we can get your call booked in, see if we can get some more ideas for you in terms of what you can do at home. And if you want us to have a word with school, we can have a word with school for you as well. Sometimes, because our team are specialist educators, the school have no option but to listen to them, because we show them that it's absolutely feasible and it can be done, and it's nonsensical that they don't offer these things or they reject to offer these things. Hi, Leanne. Gracie has a photo book that she takes in with her pictures of the people closest to her. I love that. She has an All About Me plan in place for the new term, which lists the things that will help support her. I'm hoping she will go in next week. And do you know what? The All About Me plans are sometimes called My Support Plan, they're called all sorts of things. Different local authorities call them different things. If a child has that will be full of evidence of why they need an EHCP, or at least an EHC needs assessment, or in Wales, which is where you're at, an IDP statutory assessment. So definitely get the ball rolling. I know it's really difficult in Wales. I have no idea. They changed the system and it's even more difficult now to get things in place. But you know where we are. You are my cousin. Get in touch. Melissa says it's so good for my mental health. This is going back to the cold water swimming, I think. Was it cold water that you mentioned, Melissa? You're very welcome to join me one day. Our Senko is about as good as a chocolate teapot. Yeah, well, I think we knew a few of them as well. Jessica is here. Jessica, our legal advisor. Samantha says, my son started specialist provision next Tuesday. He's also going on transport as well. So he's very nervous. He's 5 and non-verbal. Big step, Samantha. Remember, look after you. Once he's gone and his school transport has picked him up, plan for that. Plan for that point of relief, guilt, stress, anxiety, trauma, all of it. Get that cuppa on, get the tissues out, start crying, and prepare for that moment. Because when one of my children started a specialist school placement, I found it, whilst I knew it was the right thing, I knew it was the best thing, and right there and then, that was what needed to happen. I could feel myself choking up at how traumatized I found it all. That I was so disappointed that I'd waited so long, that I jumped through so many hoops. Age 5 is amazing, by the way. Well done. That is just incredible. Lindsay says, why are alternative provisions treated like an MI5 top secret file? You're absolutely right, they are. I've learned about some just recently that are local to me. I've lived here 20 something years, 28 years or something. Never even knew they existed. Louise said, we've deregistered twice and been told we're not allowed to homeschool by early help or social services, even though she's repeatedly tried school over the past few years. Louise, let's have a chat. We could talk to you about your options there. Sounds like absolute nonsense to me. My youngest daughter has a social story that's helping her get ready for school. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. We love visuals, and some kids respond really well to those social stories. Amanda says, what other options are there other than being in school? I'm trying to be really positive, but I know that we will get to school refusal. He's pre-verbal, and honestly, his violent outbursts and full-blown meltdowns are horrendous. It breaks my heart. And they're really traumatizing. I was talking to a parent today about this, and as somebody with ADHD, I can get overwhelmed. I'm much better at managing it now that I'm, mega old. But when I was younger, I'd get overwhelmed, and I could either internalize it, or sometimes it would come out in a bit of I've never been sort of angry and violent, but now and again it would really, really come out. And it's really traumatizing. As we reflect back as neurodivergent people, as we reflect back on a meltdown or a period of dysregulation, we can feel real shame. And it's really traumatizing, and it really affects our mental health. So actually, no, meltdowns aren't normal. I hate those signs that people make and sell to our community that says, we are an autistic house and we do meltdowns. No, that's like saying we love having trauma in our house. No, let's look at what's causing the meltdown. Stop putting our kids through this. It breaks my heart. As somebody who is neurospicy, as I like to call myself, or neurodivergent, I don't like the fact that that's accepted for my community. I just don't like it. I think it's awful. It's really traumatizing. In terms of other options, there are lots, Amanda. It doesn't have to be school or nothing. Get in touch with us. Can you ping us a message and we can organise a call for you, because there are tons. We've also got some resources on our website. If George is here, George, could you share a link to the types of provision, I think, or how to choose a provision? We've got a blog on that, and it gives us the different types of provision. There's also one that says benefits of a specialist provision. And that's a really, really good blog for looking at the different types of provision that you can have. But there are specialists and there's special. There's 2 different provisions there. You've got independent, you've got residential independent. You've got mainstream, obviously, and then mainstream independent. So independent comes with sort of specialist and mainstream. You've also got alternative provision, which there are more and more all the time now. You can blend them as well. So you can have a mainstream being named on your EHCP, whilst also having a few days out to do other things. So maybe forest school or certain types of therapy. Education other than at school, EOTAS provision, that can be very therapy based. We've shared quite a lot on that recently on our Facebook page. Do have a look through the pictures where we identified all the different things that can be stored in or provided within an EHCP that's got an EOTAS package. What I missed, elective home ed. Have I missed anything else? There's quite a lot anyway. Learning doesn't happen in one specific building in the same way as religion doesn't happen in one specific building. You know, it can happen. It happens all day long, doesn't it? And we need to identify what the child needs to learn. There's tons that I could go into there. We've got tons on our Sunshine Academy, by the way. For those who don't know about our Sunshine Academy, it's like a Netflix for send people who, not send people. It's an awful thing to say. It's a Netflix for people who want to learn about send. That's better phrased. It's basically an online training academy full of webinars and bespoke courses on specific content like educational provisions. And it's $9.99 a month, no minimum subscription. So you can sign up for 1 month and cancel. And it gives you access to stuff that normally you don't see. So by all means, do consider signing up to that. If you want the link, just comment here. Lisa says, my son with an EHCP is going into year 8 mainstream. I know his timetable, but no idea whether he has TA support. When I asked at the start of year 7 whether he would have TA support, I was met with a very reluctant response. Should I be given information so I can let my son know? Yeah, if it's in the EHCP, then that's a legal requirement. I'd be quite interested to see the wording that's in the EHCP. Lisa, can you send us a message? Because this is quite specific and I would like to get you the correct advice, but we'll need a bit more information from you. So ping us a message so we can help you. So I'm going to just get back to a few things now so that, and I'll come back to your comments in a second. Other things you can do to prepare your children for the return to school is validate your children's concerns. Of course, that's if they're able to actually express them to you. Or if you have a vague understanding of how they're feeling, even better if you can work out what's causing the feeling. But again, all our children are at different stages of their emotional literacy and their emotional intelligence and understanding. Some of our kids, like one of mine, is really super switched on when it comes to her emotions. She can tell me, she talks about her emotions in such a grown-up way, but she does go to things like Bridge the Gap very frequently. She learns about emotion. She knows how to name them. She knows what she's feeling. She can identify them so it doesn't really damage her mental health when she feels things. She's very accepting of herself. She also makes good use of Jackie at the Garden Shed counselling. You know, to me, those lessons are worth more than maths and English. But if you can validate those concerns, validation is huge. And by that, I mean, if your child is coming to you and saying, I'm so nervous about going back to school next week. I'm really nervous that I won't get my TA. There we go. We've just been talking about TAs. Say to them, oh my goodness, yeah, I can see how that would really, really worry you. Should we talk about that a little bit? That way you're not saying to them your feelings are not valid. You're saying to them, I can imagine that's a real feeling. That must be really big and overwhelming for you right now. Let's talk through it. Imagine if we'd had that as kids. I mean, many of us didn't, not because our parents are useless, but because this kind of stuff wasn't around then. And we had to get through the Joe Frost years to get to this point. Do not validate those strategies. So validate your children's concerns. Listen to them, help them identify those emotions and where they're coming from. Don't put pressure on them to identify good and bad emotions because there aren't any. They're just, some are bigger and more overwhelming than others. And talk about those words: big emotions, loud emotions, overwhelming emotions. Talk about them. How do they make them feel physically? You know, I've had some really big emotions over the last week or so, and all sort of linked to SEND in some shape or form when it comes to EHCPs and my children and things like that. And I recognize those as big, and I know that my heart is beating really fast and I need to do something to calm myself down. So we need to be teaching this to our kids. These are vital lessons for life because they'll affect us forever. Don't put pressure on your kids to come up with a magic formula. Don't put pressure on yourself to come up with a magic formula. Sometimes it's just too hard to pinpoint, but listening and validating can be so, the benefits are enormous. What you can also do off the back of this is get your child to create an action plan with you so that they're at the center of the plan. Now, I'm not just on about being at the center visually of this plan. I mean, they lead the plan. They are informing the plan. They may need your help advocating for them, but at the end of the day, they're at the root of what's going on here. They are actually helping to inform what's going to happen to them and how they can be best supported. And these are skills they're going to really benefit from for life. Ensuring your child maybe has a list of safe people or safe adults that they can talk to at school if they're struggling. So at least they know they don't have to struggle in silence. They know that there's a way of getting the help if they struggle, and making those safe adults aware, you know, that they are honoured to be, or they should be honoured and privileged to be your child's safe person. But again, talk to school, get that contact where you can. We all have that one connection, at least in a school, that we feel that we can connect to, and we can make them aware of what's going on, even if it means they pass the message on, because that makes it a little easier for us as well as parents. The nice sort of gentle parenting stuff you can do is mainly around emotions, I guess. I give the sort of little things that we can do, and Gabby and I have been talking about this, Gabby, one of our specialist educators, because we were talking about giving your children those little hearts that they can keep in their hand. I did it to my girls. I bought them off the internet, maybe like Amazon or Etsy or something like that. And I gave my kids these little, are they like ceramic or glass? I don't know. And they've got all sparkles in them, these little hearts that they get to put in their pockets, and they squeeze them when they need a hug. And they'll come home and say, I squeezed it. Did you feel it? And it's quite lovely. It's a really nice way of connecting with me. And you tend to find that all of a sudden they get left at home because they don't need them anymore. And whilst that's quite sad, it's really lovely, isn't it, to know that they feel strong enough and resilient enough to be able to tackle the day. I've also been known to draw little hearts just here on my children's hands. So they squeeze them. They squeeze this part, which is quite beneficial. They squeeze this area of their hand to give me a hug, or to just feel more comforted, I guess, because mum drew that heart on there, and it gets to be drawn in lots of different glitter pens or whatever. But if you've got any ideas for those sorts of like gentle parenting, lovely emotional bits, do pop them in the comments, and I'll come to them in a second. I've shared quite a bit tonight. I appreciate, you know, I've gone on and on for about an hour now. We are doing tons of webinars. It's always impossible for me to cover everything in an hour on Facebook, as you can imagine. But we are doing quite a lot of in-depth webinars on this stuff. We've got a webinar coming up with Bridge the Gap, actually, on anxiety. So if you want to learn more about managing anxiety, supporting your child with their anxiety, do comment and we'll give you the link to that. And of course, we've got our School Avoidance Week. Do keep an eye out for that, because it's going to be enormous this year. We had a really big School Avoidance Awareness Week last year. This year is going to be even bigger, because it's quite revolutionary, the stuff that you're going to want to be seeing and listening to in that. So I'm just going to have a little look at the comments, see if there's any good ideas. Sharon says, I'm in tribunal next month for private specialists. Is it normal to feel that sort of PTE birth? Do you mean post-traumatic birth feeling? I don't think I can do this. It's my second one. I have no choice. I won't read out the swear words. My ADHD makes these things so hard. Totally, because with ADHD as well, we've got rejection sensitive my ADHD brain is moving faster than my mouth today. Rejection sensitivity dysphoria, which it feels like imposter syndrome. It feels a little bit like paranoia. Really affects your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and those sorts of things really come to life, actually, when you've got things like tribunals. It is very normal, Sharon, but you're going to ace it. You will, because there's nobody more passionate than you about your children. So Sophie says, our son has, sorry, I've lost your comment again, has had lots of meltdowns over the holidays. We thought it was because he'd missed out on school and his friends, but today his new water bottle arrived and he kept saying he hated it and he won't be using it. I thought perhaps he is nervous. He's 5 and he's autistic. It's hard to know what the triggers are around school. It is really tricky, particularly when they're younger and they can't talk to you about it. But do have a look. I'm trying to see if I think I've been giving a lot of my resources away just recently. We have this amazing school climate resource. Whilst he might not be able to go through it with you, go through it. You know, have a little look at what it is that might be triggering. We have got all these lovely resources on our website, by the way. You can download them or order a box of them. So we've got preparing your child for the return to school. We've got a resource on school refusal, which of course we don't use that word, but it's a good way of getting people who don't understand it to read this. So this is really, really good. We've also got more resources on exclusions. This is another good one as well for this time of year. Low self-esteem. Neurodivergent burnout, or I think many of us parents will probably be understanding that. And we've got these two. Well, we have got about 80 of them on our website for you to download. There's all different ones. Make good use of them because you can take them into school as well and say, look, it's not me saying this. Blame Sunshine Support. Sunshine Support gave me these. Can you talk to them, please? We'll happily talk to them. Kate says, my daughter can't manage school due to anxiety and I'm contemplating home ed. Feels like a big step. She's 12. Kate, one of our staff members home educates 3 children whilst working and does a phenomenal job. Her children are so bright. They're so content. Oh my God, it's enviable what she achieves. She's just amazing. Honestly, she's just oh my goodness, her kids are just so happy. So it works for a lot of people. If you want to explore your options, give us a call. We can talk through it with you. Also, we've got our online cuppa and chat, and our home ed member of staff is often in there, so she can talk to you. She kind of often has a little room to herself, like a breakout room on Zoom, where people talk to her about home ed and ask her questions. So if you want to come along to that, it's free to come along to our cuppa and chat. So have a look on our website or comment and we'll give you the link. Julie says, can anyone help? I have a daughter in hospital who suffers with issues from different foods. Being in hospital, she's refusing to eat the food due to taste and smells. She's now having tube feeds as they have no clue on autism. We've been in 4 weeks. They will not allow her home until she eats. I am so, so sorry to read this, Julie. I would highly recommend you contact ARFID Awareness UK. Comment now if you'd like the link, because ARFID Awareness UK do follow our page and they're incredible. ARFID means avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, and not many doctors are clued up on it. It is a real thing. We have lots of webinars on it on our academy, but ARFID Awareness UK are a fantastic resource, an amazing charity. So if you'd like the link to them, they will be able to provide you with some help, maybe even some assistance. It's worthwhile reaching out to them. Do keep us informed as to what happens. Rachel says her little boy breaks her heart. His outbursts and meltdowns are so upsetting. It takes 2 of us most days to get him in the building and he stays there for hours some days. Yeah, that's really traumatizing for all of you, isn't it? That's just not, it's far from ideal. And it doesn't have to be like that, Rachel. There are so many options. And believe me, the options are much nicer. It's much nicer for all of you. Can you send us a message so we can have a chat to you and guide you through it? That would be really lovely to be able to have a chat to you and talk you through it. Polly says, I'm trying to be super positive about the return next week. Less subjects as GCSE year starts and EHCP approved over the summer. But worry my son will think I'm not hearing him and his words. And I think his worries, sorry. I think that validation is really, really, really important. It's really important to sit with him and explain that you do understand. And don't just say that you understand, but really validate him. You know, go through his emotions. And for a second, just don't, you know, kind of forget the pressures that are on you to send him and just focus on him and his well-being. Again, we're here for it. If you want any advice, you want to chat about it, any of it, just ping us a message and we'll help you. Samantha says, thank you. Sunshine Support helped me get the specialist provision and transport. You, I'm keeping everything crossed then. Let's just hope it all works out. Natasha says, doing a transition plan next week, and we had errors all week. In the care plan, or care plan in place full time. TA is off, so promised a new experience one after disaster last day. It's left so much trauma. He's frightened and anxiety building in the EHCP plan is at second scale. Oh, sorry, I can't talk tonight. I'm so tired. It's at stage 2. They've agreed to assess. Again, you're going through the EHC needs assessment process. You've got people wanting to do a transition plan. Let's hope this TA comes to fruition as well. If you need any help, give us a shout. It's so technical, isn't it? All the stuff we have to learn as SEND parents. Somebody else said they've had to deregister because they were just so unwell, you know, not just the child, but the parent as well. Michelle says, my grandson had a one-to-one at nursery. His parents decided to keep him back, but the SEND teacher has left and they're not getting another one for next term. It's hard to know what to do. He needs an EHCP. It's the only way you're going to legally get that in. Now, we get this a lot where we have this goodwill. We get schools and nurseries that offer goodwill. And by that, I mean, they say, we're going to give you a one-to-one. However, when funding is cut, they can take that one-to-one away. If the one-to-one leaves, they don't have to replace them. There's no real legal obligation on them to provide that because it's an expensive thing to provide. You work out how much it's costing them. It's a lot of money every year. However, the EHCP locks that provision in so it's legally binding and they receive the funding to pay for that person. So that's why it's really, really important that you get the EHCP in place. If you go to the top of our Facebook page, once I've finished, don't go yet, and there is a video there of me talking about that, getting the provision in place. We have so many resources on our Facebook page to help you. We also, in October, we have an in-person workshop where we're going to write the EHC needs assessment request letter with you. So you get to learn how to do the letter in one workshop. It always fills out very, very quickly. So if you would like to come to that, again, place a comment in the comments and we will absolutely send the link to you. What is the wait on your free 30-minute consultation? At the moment, it is 60 days. If you were to sign up for our advocacy services, we can get you seen to within 1 working day. But our free consultations, even though we have got a team of people working on them, we have hundreds of calls every week that are being booked. So, and we just can't get enough staff to be able to work on them. So there is a 60-day wait at the moment. We are hoping to release more slots in September, so keep your eyes peeled for those. But they will be taken very, very quickly because it's the nature of the beast with it being September, return to school. Everybody wants to talk to us, which is absolutely understandable. If you want an advocate, though, you can sign up like that right now on our website, and tomorrow you'll be allocated to an advocate. So it's very, very quick to get an advocate. I can see George, my lovely colleague, has been commenting with all the bits that you need. Melissa says, I really need a good chat with you as a parent to 3 neurodiverse girls. I need tons of support. That is where we come into our own here. We are all with you. Many of us are SEND parents. Many of us are neurodivergent ourselves. We love how neurodivergent we are at Sunshine Support. It's something we're very, very passionate about, something we're happy to share our knowledge about. We'll share what works for us, what works for our kids, but also we have a professional title as well. So of course we've got specialist educators, we've got legal advisors and whatnot. So if you need any help at all, just give us a shout. We've been there, most likely. Ali says, with regards to toilet anxiety, what are the options other than a toilet card or pass? Now, I've got stuff that have worked for my gang here. Can't honestly say that it'll work for everyone. So I'm not going to give advice because I'm not a toilet or continence advisor. But I would say on the 7th of September, we do have a webinar on toileting and continence. And so I would recommend that you come along. Laura says, if you do the Academy membership, do you get access to all webinars or is it just some of them? So the Academy membership, I can't talk very well, can I, tonight? I'm so sorry. Our Sunshine Academy, so it's set up a bit like Netflix, like I said. You pay $9.99 a month and you get access to hundreds of hours of webinars. So it's all the recorded webinars. So you've got, oh my goodness, the list is enormous. I do have the list somewhere, actually. I should probably open it up to sort of talk through it. But we have a list of hundreds and hundreds of hours of webinars. There are also quizzes on there. There's bespoke content that we've never shown anybody before. So we've had people in to develop 6-part courses, 8-part courses. They're all on there. We have audio blogs on there. We also have some gorgeous little stories for the children, animated, well, they're animation stories for children. So whilst you're learning, you can also show them some of these animated stories that are just adorable. And they're all sort of based around communication and self-identity. And we're doing more and more every time. In fact, more have been filmed today. If you give me 2 seconds, I will find the list. Bear with me. So we have a variety of different courses on there. We've got emotions in motion classes. So it's fitness classes for children and families. So they're all on there. You've never seen those before on our live webinars. We've got school avoidance. We've got an in-depth 5-part course on school avoidance. We've also got a variety of different webinars on school avoidance and your legal rights. How to apply for an EHCP, emotional regulation, dysphagia, Tourette's, Gestalt language processing, PDA. We have got so much on PDA, pathological demand avoidance, autism, ADHD, improving S.E.N. support in mainstream, IDPs and Welsh law, school transport, EOTAS. Let me see what else we've got. Selective mutism, growing up and life after EHCPs, autism in women and girls, lodging complaints, judicial reviews, managing behaviour, being sectioned, trauma and PTSD, annual reviews, ARFID, developmental language disorder, mental health, autism in early years, mental capacity, how to choose an educational provision, which is something a lot of you are asking me about tonight. Wrongful accusations of fabricated or induced illness, another major problem in our community. Improving sleep is on there. We've got a lot on improving sleep. Social care, mental health for parents, tribunal training, ADHD, speech and sound disorders. I could go on. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, exclusions, FASD, so much. I could go on. This list goes on for pages and pages. If you want to learn about S.E.N, that is the place to go. You have access. So if you pay $9.99, you can have access for a month. It's a rolling subscription. So if you want to cancel, you need to cancel it. But you can cancel at any time. There's no minimum subscription. We don't say you've got to sign up for a year or anything like that. So we're very, it's very, very flexible. Any links that you want, can you identify? I've noticed a few people are saying, can I have the link? But I've talked about so many links tonight. It could be anything. So do let us know if there's any particular link that you want. What I will also do is when I finish the video, I'll put all the big links onto the main post so you don't have to scroll through. It'll all be at the top of the video. Marion says, my 5-year-old is starting an S.E.N. school next week and we got accepted to travel assistance from the council, which is great. However, I don't get why a parent can't accompany the child, at least for the first few times. When we raised our concerns with the person from the travel bureau, they said, oh, he'll be fine. Oh, it's not very reassuring, is it? It really, really isn't. Let me see. There's lots and lots of comments here. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to get through everybody. Debbie says, my little boy is crying already about school. We're back next week. I'm at a loss. Look, Debbie, if you've not watched from the start, go through. And I go through all the different things that you can sort of try and unpick to see what it is that's causing the anxiety. Sometimes it can be fixed. Other times you've got to accept it. It's not the wrong provision, but it's not an overnight thing that we get to decide that. We need to, there's quite a lot that goes into it. We are here though, if you need us, okay? just reach out. Don't ever sit there going, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Just send Sunshine Support a message. If you're struggling, Sunshine Support, just send them a message. Don't suffer in silence. Just send a message. We will always come back to you. We come back to everybody. Louise says, same with my 13-year-old. She's point blank refusing to even attempt to go back. That's okay. That's her right to do that. She has a human right to say what she can and can't achieve, what she can and can't manage. And I think it's really important we listen to that. Do come along to my school avoidance webinar in September. Or if you can't wait, watch the recorded ones on the Sunshine Academy. There is so many options. You don't have to accept that it's school, mainstream school, or nothing. Also, if they haven't gone for 6 days, if they've not been educated for 6 days, you have legal rights. A further 15 days, or 15 days in total, you have legal rights. There are things you can put in place. I'm not going to give the legal advice now because that's not my remit, but get in touch with us and we will get that legal advice from our legal advisor, Jess. So there's a major theme coming out here. I hope that I've sort of answered most of you. Oh, somebody's just asking here, with your cuppa and chat in person, are people available for some advice on the day? Yes. So the people you will see, if you have a look on our website, you're likely to see Emma. Emma is the smiliest person you will ever meet. And she will greet you and you will feel very, very welcome. You might see a couple of Jessicas. We have got all the Jessicas in the world working at Sunshine Support. So you might see Jessica Mead, who runs our events and loves to be present for our cuppa and chat. She is so super gentle. She's lovely. And you might see Jessica Gould, a fellow S.E.N parent who loves supporting. She really scoops people up and supports them. So you might even see me at an in-person cuppa and chat as well. So do come along. It's free to attend. There's loads of coffee. We've even got Baileys if you want to just slip a bit of Baileys in your coffee. Numb that trauma down a little bit for the session. But I think they're a lovely, lovely session where you can just come along, meet your tribe. The online ones are lovely as well. You know, if you can't make it in person, because we're based in Derby, but our staff team is actually based across the country, all the way from the very north near Scotland, all the way down to the south coast. So we've got people all over the country. With our hub being in Derby. But if you want to come to an online cuppa and chat, you're very, very welcome. If you want to come to one of our in-person ones, you're very welcome. All the details are on our website. If in doubt this evening and you need a link and you can't find it, just send us a message or have a look on our website where everything I think is quite clearly listed. Let me see if there's anything else before I sign off. Lots of people talking about school avoidance. Yes, you'll see this as a recording on our Facebook page, so it'll be there for you, for those asking whether they can watch this back. Liz says, any advice for transition to secondary for already emotionally based school avoidance, ADHD, autism pathway, 11-year-old son? Get in touch, Liz, because this is very bespoke, very specific. We'll need to ask you a few questions so that we can give you accurate advice. Autism and ADHD combined is something we need to be treating with a lot of respect, because they have two very, very different profiles, and it can cause a real inner turmoil, you know, trying to compete, the two different profiles and presentations in your brain, trying to compete with each other. I've got friends who are autistic with ADHD. One of my children is autistic with ADHD, and the inner conflict is a real battle for them. So we need to be very, very careful. We won't sort of give blanket advice for that sort of thing. So send us a message and we can organise to have a chat. So I hope tonight has been useful for some of you, if not all of you. If you have any further questions, do just ping us a message. Like I said before, don't suffer in silence. We're here. We're always busy, so there's never a quiet time for Sunshine. We thought August might be a quiet time, but it absolutely wasn't. If you would like to book a call, I'm hoping to get some more calls released in September. So keep an eye on our website, because you can just book a call automatically on our website. And one more thing, if you do book a call, please can you let us know if you want to cancel it? Because today we've had 4 people in my diary who had calls and none of them picked up. And whilst I appreciate things happen, they are 4 calls I could have allocated to somebody here this evening and brought some calls forward. So if you have a call with us and you don't want it anymore, that's absolutely fine. Just go online where you booked a call and cancel it. You don't even need to speak to us. Just cancel it online and it comes out of our diaries. It's all an automated system. So please do respect others are in the queue and that we'd like to bring them forward. So make sure if you can't make your call that you cancel it or reschedule. But I hope you found tonight beneficial, everyone. There's lots of links that we have shared with you between the toileting webinar, anxiety webinar, using visuals in the classroom webinar. Then we have School Avoidance Week coming up, and our EHCP workshop. Cuppa and chats galore. If you want to come and have a natter with us, you name it, we can support it. Don't suffer in silence. We are here to support you. Just send us a message and we will help. Good luck with your preparations. If you need further help, let us know. Remember to download those resources as well. But may the force be with you. We are here if you need us. Okay. Good luck with it all. And I'm sure I'll be back on again soon. So good night, everyone. Bye.